Get ready for this wild ride. A mafia snatches a girl, sells her to a billionaire. And trust me, you won't believe what happens next. Stick around for this insane revenge story. The movie starts with a former Special Forces soldier named Levon. He wakes up in his car, showing that he treats it like his home. Then he gets out and opens the gate of the construction site where he works. We learn that Levon is a foreman at a construction company. The workers really like and respect him. One even gives him food his wife made especially for Levon. Levon thanks him. Then he talks to the workers, motivates them, and tells them there's a lot of work today that needs to be finished on time. He promises a bonus if they get it done. He leaves them to it and heads to the office. There, he greets Carla and Joe, the company owners. Their daughter Jenny is with them, handling the accounts. From the way they talk to Levon, it's clear they treat him like family. Jenny asks Joe for his credit card so she can go out with her friends that night. Levon smiles when Joe tells her he doesn't want her spending too much, but eventually gives in and hands her the card. Suddenly, Levon notices a car pulling up at the site. A group of shady-looking guys get out, clearly a gang. They beat up the worker who brought Levon breakfast. Levon tries to talk to them calmly and get them to leave the guy alone, but one of them insults him and tells him to back off. Levon snaps. He throws nails at them and fights them hard. The beaten worker is in shock at what Levon just did. Levon checks on him, makes sure he's okay, then goes back to work. Later, Jenny approaches Levon. She saw him fighting and asks if he used to be in the military. His moves look professional. She says her grandfather was a soldier too and used to fight just like that. She asks Levon to teach her a few moves for self-defense. Levon ignores the request and tells her not to mention what happened in front of her parents. She agrees, then gives him food her grandmother made just for him. She knows he lives alone and has no one to cook for him. Levon takes the food and tells her to thank her grandma. After work, Levon goes to visit his daughter Mary. He's surprised to find that her grandfather, Jordan, threw a party on the same day Levon planned to take her out, clearly trying to make her stay. But Mary runs to Levon, happy to see him, and gets in his car. Jordan appears and speaks to Levon in a nasty tone. He says he doesn't trust him with Mary because trouble always follows Levon. He blames Levon's violent life for his daughter's death, Levon's wife. Jordan tries to provoke Levon into hitting him so he can use it in court to take custody. But Levon stays calm, tells him he's not responsible for her death, and walks away. Then Levon takes Mary to a restaurant for lunch. He gives her a gift, a photo of her and her mom. Mary says she's sad and mad at her mom for dying and leaving them. She tells him that her grandpa took down all of her mom's pictures. Levon's sadness shows. He still hasn't healed from losing his wife. Then Levon goes to his lawyer's office and tells him about Jordan's behavior. The lawyer tells him that Jordan has a big legal team doing everything they can to win the custody case. He's surprised Jordan hates Levon that much. So Levon explains that Jordan blames him for his wife's death. Levon says his wife fell into depression because he was always away working. Eventually, she hurt herself. The lawyer suggests talking to Jordan and trying to fix things, especially since Jordan has a better chance of winning. Levon doesn't even have a proper place to live, which will hurt him in court. Levon gets angry and refuses to make peace. He gives the lawyer money to keep working on the case and says he'll figure out the housing issue fast. Later that night, Jenny goes out with her friends to a bar. She heads to the counter and talks to a guy named David. He offers her and her friends a nice table if she tells him her name. She tells him, and he shows her the table. Then David sends a message to someone named Viper, a guy involved in a human trafficking ring. Once Viper gets the message, he grabs his partner Era and rushes to the bar. Meanwhile, one of Jenny's friends gets too drunk. Jenny helps her to the bathroom and tells her she'll wait outside. As soon as Jenny steps out of the bathroom, Viper ambushes her, covers her mouth, and kidnaps her. The next day, Carla and Joe meet with Levon. They tell him Jenny's been missing since last night. Her friend said she vanished after going to the bathroom at the bar. Joe asks Levon to help find her, reminding him he's a former soldier and knows how to handle this kind of thing. Levon says he gave up that life. If he gets involved in any violence, he could lose custody of his daughter. Joe offers him a lot of money to take the job. Even then, Levon refuses and walks away. Levon then goes to visit his friend Johnny, who lives in the woods. Through their talk, we learn Levon once saved Johnny's life during a military mission. Johnny lost his sight, but he's still grateful Levon saved him. Levon tells Johnny what happened with Jenny. It's clear he really cares about her like his own daughter. He once promised her he'd always be there for her. But now he's torn and afraid he'll lose custody of Mary if he gets involved. Johnny encourages him to save Jenny no matter what. Levon takes his advice and goes back to Joe, who's sitting and watching a video of Jenny playing piano. He looks heartbroken. Joe tells Levon that Jenny got a music scholarship, but turned it down to help him run the business. That hits Levon hard. He promises Joe he'll find Jenny and won't stop until he does. Then Levon grabs his car and starts digging into Jenny's movements on the day she disappeared. He ends up at the bar she was at that night. While he's there, he spots David secretly selling drugs to people without getting noticed. That's when Levon suspects David's involved in Jenny's disappearance. Levon heads out the back door of the bar and notices the camera wires have been cut. He searches the area and finds a bead from Jenny's necklace. He realizes she must have been kidnapped and try to fight back. Later that night, when David closes up the bar and gets in his car, it's revealed Levon placed a tracker on the vehicle and is following him. Levon manages to sneak into David's house without him noticing. David freaks out when he sees Levon standing in front of him with a gun. Before David can reach for his weapon, Levon disarms him, shows him Jenny's bracelet, and starts pressing him for answers about who took her. David claims he doesn't know anything and says he already told the cops everything. But Levon knows he's lying. He drags him into the bathroom, forces him into the tub, and starts pouring water over his face. That's when David finally breaks. He says the people who took Jenny are extremely dangerous and warns Levon that if he keeps digging, they'll come after his whole family. But Levon doesn't back down. He demands a name. Just then, two of David's associates arrive and call out for him. When David hears their voices, he screams for help. Levon grabs David and walks out of the bathroom. The two guys open fire the moment they see them. They kill David on the spot. Levon shoots back and takes both of them out. Then he takes their cash and notices tattoos on their bodies, realizing they're part of the Russian Mafia. Levon waits near David's house until next day. He spots two guys getting out of a car with their boss, a man named Volo. Levon watches as they enter the house. Inside, Volo loses it when he sees his men dead, and when he notices the money is missing, he realizes it was a robbery. He orders his men, Danny and Vanko, to find out who did this immediately. At that moment, Levon sees a cleaning van pull up. Two women get out to clean the crime scene and cover everything up. Volo, Danny, and Vanko leave in their car. Levon tails them to Volo's house. He parks nearby, grabs some gear from his car, hides in the trees, and watches the house. From a distance, he sees Volo getting into a fight with his wife and hitting her. After she storms off, Levon breaks into the house. The second Volo sees him, Levon throws hot coffee in his face and knocks him out. When Volo wakes up, he's tied to a chair with a rope hanging over the pool. Levon rips the tape off his mouth and asks if he knows who he is. Then Levon tells him he knows exactly who he is and that he works for the Russian Mafia. Volo warns Levon that killing his men and stealing his money was a huge mistake. Now his whole family is in danger. But Levon doesn't flinch. He punches Volo and says that was for hitting his wife. Then he throws the stolen money in Volo's face and tells him he doesn't want it. Levon shows him a photo of Jenny and says he wants her back home. He tells Volo she was kidnapped at the same bar they used to deal drugs. Volo gets pissed and starts ranting in Russian about someone named Dimi. Levon tells him he doesn't understand a word and demands he hand Jenny over if he wants to live. Volo snaps and starts cursing Levon out. So Levon cuts the rope and lets him drown in the pool. As Levon leaves the house, he pulls out his phone. Turns out he recorded the whole thing. He runs the audio through a translator and finally learns the name of the guy behind Jenny's kidnapping, Dimi. A bit later, the cleaning crew shows up, takes Volo's body, and cleans up every trace of the crime scene. At the same time, Volo's brother, Simon, arrives. That's when we find out Danny and Vanko are actually Simon's sons. They break the news to him about his brother, and Simon walks into the house heartbroken. He checks the security footage and sees Levon killing Volo. He's shocked by Levon's boldness and wants to know why he did it. So he tells his sons to bring Levon in alive. He wants to deal with him himself. Meanwhile, we cut to Jenny, still being held captive. A woman named Artie walks in wearing a disguise. She brings Jenny some food and new clothes, but then pulls a gun on her and threatens to shoot her if she doesn't eat and change. Back to Levon, he calls up one of his old army buddies who now works in narcotics. He asks him about someone named Dimi. His friend tells him about a bar Dimi owns, where he deals drugs. That night, Levon heads straight to the place. Artie is monitoring the security cameras and gets suspicious when she notices a gun in Levon's waistband. She tells her partner, Chidi, to go check him out. Chidi sits down next to Levon, and Levon pulls out a wad of cash, placing it on the table. Chidi assumes he's here to buy drugs and takes him to meet their boss, a guy named Dutch. Artie alerts Dutch that Levon's carrying a gun and says she suspects he might be a cop. So Dutch asks Levon why he's packing. Levon tells him it's just for protection. He's got a lot of cash on him, and he doesn't trust thieves. Dutch tells him to empty his pockets to prove he's not a cop, but Levon refuses and gets up to leave. Dutch then orders his guys to stop him. A fight breaks out. Levon takes on all of Dutch's men in a brutal brawl. None of them can handle him. Just as he's about to finish off one of the guys, Dutch yells at everyone to stop. He approaches Levon and says his combat skills are way beyond anything a cop would have. Then he guesses that Levon must have served in the military. Levon admits he's a former soldier and says he's in the drug business now, with a big client base in Chicago. He explains that he needs a large supply because his last supplier just got busted. Dutch decides to test him with a price. Levon responds that the price is way higher than what he pays in Chicago, which convinces Dutch he's a real dealer. He tells Levon to meet him at a certain cafe the next day for the drop. The next day, Levon shows up at the cafe. Artie and Chidi meet him, take the cash, and give him a phone. They tell him he'll get a call soon with the delivery location. Levon takes the phone and warns them not to try anything slick. Then he walks off. As he gets into his car, Dutch calls him and says the drugs are under the chair he was just sitting on. Dutch explains it was a test. He had to make sure no one was following him. He says he'll call again tomorrow to arrange the delivery of the big shipment. Levon hangs up and throws all the drugs into the river. At night, Viper and Artie hand Jenny over to the client who bought her. His name's Garrett. When they ask him why he wanted this girl specifically, he says her picture reminded him of a painting he's obsessed with. He gives them a bag full of cash and gold, then walks inside to open the crate Jenny's in. But as soon as he gets close, she scratches his face bad. Garrett storms back out to Viper and Artie, furious, yelling at them to get her out of his house and kill her. Meanwhile, Levon is in a small apartment out in the middle of nowhere. He's pinning up all the photos and info he's gathered on the wall. Then he gets a call from Dutch, telling him the time and place he'll be meeting the big boss to pick up the large drug shipment he asked for. The next day, Levon heads to the spot. It's a fancy restaurant packed with armed guards. He gets frisked before being allowed in to meet the boss. And he's stunned to find out the boss is Dimi, the guy he's been searching for this whole time. Before any real conversation starts, Levon pulls out the money for the drugs and gives it to Dutch. Dimi then asks to see Levon's ID. Levon hands over a fake military ID he used back in the day. One of Dimi's guys checks it, but it's forged so well that he comes back saying it's clean. Dimi shakes Levon's hand, gives him a bag full of drugs, and tells him he's happy. They'll be doing a lot of business together. But as soon as Levon leaves, he flushes the drugs down the toilet and heads back to his place. There, he stares at pictures of Jenny and her friends from the bar, and spots Viper in the background, staring hard at Jenny. Levon checks David's phone and finds out he was talking to Viper, which means Viper's the one who kidnapped Jenny. Levon realizes Viper hangs out at the same bar Dutch's crew uses. So he heads there and waits in his car to watch for him. But Artie spots him through the security cameras. She already knows Danny and Vanko are after Levon, so she calls them up and tells them he's parked right outside. They show up fast. As soon as Levon sees them, he jumps out of the car, steals a motorcycle, and speeds off. Danny and Vanko chase after him in their car, shooting at him the whole time. Levon manages to escape, but then crashes straight into a police car and goes flying. He's shocked when the cops just hand him over to Danny and Vanko, who pay them off. They tie him up and throw him in their car, telling him Volo, the man he killed, was their uncle. Levon mocks them and their flashy outfits, which pisses them off. They start beating on him, but Levon fights back hard. Dan tries to shoot Levon, but Levon grabs his arm and redirects it. The bullet hits the driver right in the head, blowing his brains out. The car flips over and crashes. Levon manages to kill both Danny and Vanko. He frees himself, gets out of the wreck, and pushes the car into the river to cover his tracks. When Simon finds out his sons are dead, he's crushed. He calls a meeting with the other Mafia bosses. Meanwhile, Viper and Artie are with Dimi, who's pissed because Ginny scarred Garrett's face. Viper tells him it won't happen again. They'll take Ginny somewhere quiet and kill her, then find a new girl to deliver to Garrett. We cut back to Simon, who's in a meeting with the Mafia bosses, telling them what happened. One of them decides to send him two of their best fighters, Nestor and Sevi, to take out the guy who killed his brother and nephews. Simon takes them straight to Dimi, since he's probably the only one who'd know where Levon is, especially after Levon was spotted outside his bar. That's when we find out that Dimi is actually Volo's son, the same Volo that Levon dumped in the pool. And apparently, Dimi's never gotten along with his father. He actually seems happy he's dead. But when he hears that Levon killed Danny and Vanko, his cousins, he's in shock. He tells Simon that Levon introduced himself as a drug dealer and even shows him a pic of the ID Levon gave him, which had looked real. Simon gets pissed and says Levon's been stalking him for days, and now his brother and both his kids are dead because of it. He storms off. Meanwhile, Nestor and Sevi dig up everything they can on Levon. The next day, they go to Jordan's house. That's Levon's father-in-law. At that moment, Levon's driving when he gets a call from the school saying Jordan didn't come to pick up Mary like he always does. Levon rushes to the school, grabs his daughter, and heads to Jordan's place. On the way, Mary's confused why her grandpa didn't come like usual. That's when Levon starts to worry something's wrong. When he gets to the house, it's on fire. He jumps out of the car, runs inside, and finds Jordan tied up on the floor. He pulls him out fast, saving him just in time. Jordan tells Levon it was the Russian Mafia and blames Levon for dragging them into this. But Mary speaks up, defending her dad, saying he just saved her grandpa's life. Jordan realizes he was wrong and apologizes to Levon. Levon drives off with his daughter and heads to his buddy Johnny's place. There, he tells Johnny everything about Dimi, the trafficking, and how Dimi's definitely got something to do with Jenny's disappearance. Johnny takes Levon to his weapons stash and tells him to take whatever he needs for the mission. After gearing up, Levon hugs his daughter goodbye, thanks Johnny, and tells him to look after her. Later that night, Viper and Artie take Jenny to a remote spot to kill her, but she fights back, kicking and flailing until their car crashes into a tree. She manages to break free and runs for her life. Eventually, she sees a cop car and thinks she's saved, but it turns out the cops are dirty and work for Dimi's gang. They hand her right back to Viper and Artie, who are just about to finish the job. But suddenly, they get a call from Garrett. He's changed his mind. He wants Jenny back. At the same time, Levon shows up at Dimi's bar. He hears Dimi arguing with a girl inside. Levon sneaks in and silently takes out all of Dimi's men one by one. Dimi grabs the girl and threatens to kill her, but Levon doesn't flinch. He shoots Dimi right in the arm, the one holding the gun, injuring him badly. He tells the girl to grab the cash and get out of there. Levon sits down with Dimi and shows him a photo of Jenny, asking where she is. Dimi says he doesn't know her, but he does know the place where buyers go to pick up girls, a secret underground casino where rich men from all over the world gather. Levon forces Dimi into his car and makes him guide the way to the place. Once they get there, Levon drags him out of the car, stares him down, and asks how he could sell girls like their merchandise. Dimi just shrugs and says, "It's all about the money." So Levon shoots him, ending him right there, then grabs his bag and heads toward the building, ready to rescue Jenny. And at that same moment, Dutch gets a call. He finds out everything Levon did and that he took Dimi to the underground casino. Dutch gathers all his men and heads there to take Levon out. Inside the club, Artgart takes Garrett with her to the room where they're keeping Jenny. She's tied up, and Garrett walks toward her, ready to torture her. Revenge for the scar she gave him on his face. But suddenly, boom, an explosion rocks the place. Levon just blew up part of the building and storms in, taking down anyone from Dimi's gang who crosses his path. Total chaos erupts. People scream and rush to escape. That's when Dutch and his crew arrive and enter the club. But Levon moves fast with deadly precision. He wipes out Dutch's men in seconds, then goes toe-to-toe with Dutch in a brutal hand-to-hand fight. Dutch is a beast. He keeps hitting Levon hard, but Levon manages to overpower him and kills him. Levon then runs deeper into the building, following Jenny's screams. When he sees Garrett standing in front of her, he wastes no time, shoots him dead. Then he grabs Viper and beats him to death with his bare hands. Meanwhile, Jenny grabs Artgart with her legs and chokes her until she dies. That's when Nestor and Sevi finally arrive, but they've got the corrupt cops behind them. The second Sevi spots them, he opens fire without hesitation, blowing up their car. Back inside, Levon unties Jenny and they make a run for it. But suddenly, gunfire erupts again. Nestor and Sevi start shooting at them. Levon and Jenny take cover, and Levon pulls out a sniper camera from his bag. He locks on a Sevi and takes him out with a single shot. Then he grabs a grenade, hurls it at Nestor, boom, finishes him off too. Levon grabs Jenny. They hop onto a motorcycle and speed away. But just as they ride off, Simon spots them and calls the Mafia boss, telling him what happened. The boss replies coldly, their mission's over. They're not getting involved with the girl or the man who's with her. Simon tries to argue, says he has to avenge his brother and nephews, but the boss cuts him off. He says personal revenge isn't their business. The Mafia's interests come first, and tells Simon to forget the whole thing. Simon has no choice but to hang up, and he screams in frustration. The next day, Levon arrives at Jenny's family's house. They're stunned to see her alive and rush to hug her, thanking Levon with tears in their eyes for what he's done. Later, Levon returns to his daughter. He hugs Johnny and his wife, and they all sit down for a happy meal together. Finally safe, finally at peace. And that's the end of the movie. See you in the next recap. If you love movies and movie recaps, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more. Hit like if you enjoyed the video and share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.